let's go and talk about Juneau real quick. How long have you lived there, and what brought you to Juneau?
So similar story to Tracy. I about I guess almost 19 years ago now. Came up to Juneau just for a summer for a visit, visiting family, and it was a week of like 70-degree weather, nothing but sun, beautiful mountains on one side, ocean on the other, no matter where you're at. And fell in love with it. And then I moved. I think I visited in May, and I moved in August, and then it rained for 19 years. So no.
That was a total bait and switch.
It was. No, actually, we've had many beautiful summers since I've lived there. But it's like Kodiak. We're in a temperate rainforest, and it rains. But we aren't like, we do get more sun like during the day than some other parts of the state because we are further south. But it's beautiful. There's no more beautiful place in the world, maybe besides Homer. I like Homer a lot.
It's beautiful.
Pretty hard to beat.
No offense. No offense.
No, I get it. Like, believe me. Okay, so that's awesome then. And when did you get into real estate then? Like, is it something like you envisioned yourself doing, like for the longest time, or is it something you kind of just ended up falling into?
I remember being in high school and driving by a real estate school and thinking real estate might be fun someday, but I never really set out to start real estate or be in real estate. But I've been in it for 12 years, and banking was kind of where I got my start. And I wanted to do something that was a little bit more freedom with my schedule, which is also a joke because I don't know that I've ever worked as much in my life. But I love it, and I like working with people. I like helping people with different chapters in their lives. As you know, we help people buy and sell for all sorts of reasons, and so we become friends, family, counselors. But it's just helping people make that next step and journey in their life.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we're already getting a ton of questions in the comments section. So
Okay,
we're gonna just do a rapid fire real quick here.
Okay.
So coming in from Mr. Pokey. So as to coming from Atlanta, what's the best area for me to move to as to changing climates? So I guess this one's a little bit for everybody. So I'm going to make the pitch for South Central. It's a little bit more inclement. The economy is pretty diverse over here. You're going to have more amenities, more conveniences, and you can certainly drive to all the other places with the more pristine scenery and everything. That's really what South Central Alaska has going for it. But I'll let everyone else make their pitch for their areas.
I agree with you, Jamin. I think if we're looking for something comparable to Atlanta, it'd probably be, more interior with you, or not so interior, but South Central.
Right. What about Kodiak? What do you think, Katrina?
I think Kodiak's a lot different than Atlanta in that I don't think Atlanta gets probably about the same cold, but we don't ever get really hot like we get in Atlanta. And I think that culturally it's a huge culture shock for people when they come from more populated places. So I think that Anchorage is a good place, like if you're going to move to Alaska and you're used to living in a city, that's probably somewhere where you're more comfortable. But if you're really I just want to get away from everything, Kodiak's great. You just have to get used to rain.
And big bears.
And bears.
Slight detail. All right, Valerie, why should they consider Homer?
I don't know. I think that coming from Atlanta, you're coming from a big city to start in Anchorage and kind of dip your toes in the water from Alaska. The nice thing about Homer is we can drive to Anchorage. It's just a 4-hour drive opposed to being landlocked. But I feel like you would get a little cabin fever, especially in the wintertime, going from such a big city to such a small community. And in the summertime, Homer, I mean, the population's around 15,000. It's a lot busier. But then come winter, everybody leaves. They go down to where it's warm again, and it's kind of a dead little town. So I think if it were me, I would start with Anchorage just to get a feel for Alaska, and then you can go visit all the other places and pick which one would be the best fit.
There you go. We've got the answers all right here. Jonathan, can you hear me, man? Or
Yep,
are
I
you?
got you.
Okay. So we've got Jonathan Wheeler from Kenai. Thanks for joining us, sir. The question is, he's got someone coming in from Atlanta. What's the best area for me to move to as far as just getting used to the changing climates?
So, I mean, in Kenai, we're similar to Homer as far as like our temperatures. We're a few degrees cooler up here, being a little further north. We are still a coastal town, so we have the ocean right here along where we're at. We do have a little bit warmer summers, I would say. Probably real similar winters, maybe a little bit cooler in the wintertime. But we definitely get a lot less rain. This last summer was pretty weird. We had 2 solid months of sun and then 3 solid months of rain. So it was like you didn't get that in between. But an average summer will probably half and half sun and rain with, but it's all mixed up. It's not all at once. And then wintertime, we do get quite a bit of snow down here. We have kind of our little microclimates. If you go a little bit north on the peninsula, we definitely get a lot more snow as far as like going a little more south on the peninsula. But it's definitely a more mild side of Alaska. We have 2 small cities, Kenai and Soldotna. If you're coming from Atlanta, they're definitely small cities. We have your normal Walmart, Fred Meyer's, handful of good restaurants to go to, but definitely not as much going on as Anchorage as far as stuff to do that doesn't involve being outside. We have lots of outside activities, fishing in the summertime, skiing, hiking, snowshoeing, snow machining, snowmobiling, as you guys call it down there. So there's lots of stuff to do outside, not so much like indoor activities.
Outstanding. So guys, if you have Juneau questions, do feel free to drop those in the comment section as quickly as possible. Robin, I am going to see if we can get you out of here in like the next 5 to 10 minutes, just because I'm sure you have to be exhausted. Let's go ahead and get to a couple quick Juneau questions here. So number 1, can you drive to Juneau from Washington? Coming in from Morris Taylor.
No, you can drive your car onto a ferry and then take a ferry for a day or a few days, depending if you drive the Alcan or want to get on in Washington. But you can get your car to Juneau. There's many ways to do that.
Okay, outstanding. And got another one here from Pokey Arnold. Is Juneau a small town?
Yes, especially if you're from Atlanta, I think. And so comparing us to Atlanta, we are significantly smaller. We are bigger than Homer and Kodiak. We're about 35,000 people year round. During tourism season, we do get a little bit bigger as we have people that come in for the summer to work tourism. But yes, it's a small town, and it is. We're locked in, so you can really only get in by boat or by plane. Like I said, you can drive your car onto the ferry and travel by road that way, but otherwise, it is. Yes, it's a small town.
Outstanding. So we've got an interesting question here coming in hot from Andrew Caskey. How to approach the idea of moving to Alaska to your girlfriend? So,
they're called diamonds. Big fat diamonds.
That's number 1. A lot easier, I think, to convince a wife than a girlfriend. Number 1. I'm going to take a stab at this too. If you're trying to just do the slow indoctrination way, you might just slowly start posting pictures up there in a really subtle way and see if you can slowly start just luring them in that way. That's one tactic strategy that's worked pretty well, but I don't know. What do the rest of you think?
I think I would plan an awesome Alaskan vacation first and take her to do everything that there's to do, all the highlights of Alaska, and impress her that way. And then hopefully you can convince her. But I don't think I would just move to Alaska without her ever visiting first. Let her see that it's a great place to have a lot of fun.
This is true.
Exactly. You got to kind of overcome all the Alaska stereotypes.
I'd bring her on a vacation in the summer.
Yes.
Yes.
Easy.
Summertime.
That's a really good point. All right, Mr. Wheeler, what do you think? What is the best way to approach the idea of convincing your girlfriend to move to Alaska?
I think the other answer kind of broke up a little bit there, but it sounded like plan a good vacation, and that's what I would do. Come up for a couple weeks, travel around the peninsula, get a good feel for it, and then see if you can convince her that way. Figure out what does she like to do. If she likes to go outside, is she like? I mean, I find like my wife loves fishing, so as soon as you get her on the river, she loves it here. But bring her up for vacation and then see how that goes. And we get a lot of walk-ins in our office. People come up for the week and they just want to move here, so we start the home buying process while they're here, and they go back to where they're from, and then communicate remotely, and it works really well. So, I mean, people get hooked here real quick.
Outstanding. So, Robin, I am pretty sure you are ready to go to bed here. So, yeah, why don't you go ahead and just call it a night, unless you have any final thoughts or anything you'd really like to talk about. But
No, thanks for having me, and I hope you all have a wonderful night, and look forward to doing this again in the near future.
outstanding. Well, thank you, ma'am, and you get better soon, okay?
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, let's see. Let's go bottom up here. So, Katrina, let's go ahead and talk about Kodiak. You have quite a history going back there with Kodiak, so why don't you go ahead and kind of talk about that a little bit, and maybe talk about what it's like living on Kodiak Island real quick.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Kodiak. I'm raising my kids in my grandparents' old house. So we bought that house, but raising them in the house that I was raised in, which is pretty cool. I think I've tried to leave a couple times. I've spent quite some time up in Anchorage. That's where I started selling real estate. But it always just draws me back there. My kids were getting older, and I wanted them to have a different high school experience than going to school up in the city. And so we moved back to Kodiak like 7 years ago, and I love it. It's small. I don't have to worry about so many things that other people are worried about on a daily basis. It's kind of just disconnected and in its own little bubble. And I really like that. My family has lived there for a really long time. My parents both graduated high school there. And it's really cool to live somewhere where I know everyone. Like, there's not strangers everywhere. It's really nice. My family has been selling real estate since my grandpa sold real estate up here, my parents, and now I sell real estate up here. I was trying to go to college and be a lawyer, and they were insistent that no, I'm going to sell real estate. So that's what I'm doing now. I think 18 years later, still selling real estate. But I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. But everyone, when they come, especially if they come from a populated place, it's kind of shocking, and it's a little bit jarring for people at first.
I imagine, because, well, I don't imagine, like, I get that. Yes, that is true. I've been to Kodiak a number of times,
Yeah.
and you can feel it almost when you step off the plane. There's definitely a much slower slower pace of life suddenly. I mean, you don't expect it because you usually associate island time with Hawaii, but it definitely applies to Kodiak.
Yes, it's very slow paced. There's no traffic though, so there's just a lot of things we don't stress about there that people that live other places, I think, just have that built into their life. You have things that are stressful by living in what I call it civilization, right? So I like it, being down there. But whenever I visit Anchorage, it's just very overwhelming how much stuff you don't even realize is going on around you until it's gone, and then you go back to it. It's really interesting. But yeah, it's jarring for people sometimes. They're in the Coast Guard and they get transferred there and they don't know what to expect. They show up and they're like, okay, so we have one stoplight in the whole deal there, the whole town, one stoplight. We have one drive-through McDonald's, and that's it for drive-through food. So real quick, it's very different. Like fresh produce, the shipping's, everything's expensive to ship there. It just real quick, it becomes a very different place. But then once you're there, I think I have relationships with people that are, my people that I've been friends with my entire life, and get to do life together, and our kids are friends, and hopefully their kids will be friends. And so there's that aspect of it that I really enjoy living there.
Yeah, I mean that's really sounds like one of the big appeals of living in Kodiak is just kind of having that community aspect that a lot of people really miss in a bigger city.
Yes.
So let me go ahead and go to the comment section real quick here. So coming in from Morris Taylor, I guess they don't have riots in Kodiak. I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe there are riots in Kodiak I'm not aware of. I don't think they do. Okay.
No, none of that.
They got big bad bruising bears, but that's really about it.
Yeah, we have to watch out for bears. We have a community thing on Facebook called Bear Aware that we have to check in the morning to see, can the kids walk to the bus stop, or do we have to drive them? Are there bears out this morning?
Better not forget to check it.
Just a different kind of problems, though. And I'd rather deal with bears. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I've yet to have a Kodiak bear mess up my 401k or something like that. So,
yeah, exactly.
It's like, damn that bear. All right. Going on to Caden here. Are solar panels worthwhile? I understand there's no point during the winter months, but does the extra sunlight from summer make them worth it? I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's getting popular here. That summertime makes up for it. And we still get, in the Peninsula, some daylight at night, daylight in the wintertime. And so you get a little bit, but a lot of times you have an issue with snow covering them up, so it totally blocks them off. But I've seen them on the side of houses where they're vertical, and that seems to still work. But
Yep, very good point. Valerie, do you guys see a whole lot of solar panels over in Homer?
They're starting to become more popular, but honestly, I don't think anybody's had them long enough to see if they truly pay off with the actual installation cost. So I think it's going to take us a couple of more years to see if the ROI is actually worth it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. By and large, here in the Anchorage, Palmer, Wasilla, you really don't see it very much at all in Anchorage. You might see it a little bit in like Palmer, Wasilla, especially start getting further out into like Big Lake, Sutton, those smaller communities, a little more remote. You'll probably see a bit more out there, but yeah, I would need to see more numbers in front of me to know if it's actually a good trade-off. But it's out there, starting to become more popular, but it's definitely not like you move to Alaska and it's like, okay, well, here's your house, here's your list of hiking trails, and here's your solar panel. It's not really standard issue up here. Okay, so this one right here, I am going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this one. If you guys want to chime in, feel free to. So coming from Rolane, can you address crime? In my research, I go from freaked out to, okay, it will be okay. Conflicting articles I've read, maybe just the widespread articles written in different years. You know, when it comes to crime and Alaska, it gets a little difficult because any analysis that's done with proportions is very challenging to do accurately when you're doing Alaska, just because our sample and our population is so much smaller. Best thing I can say is do the research yourself. Go look at the crime map for the specific areas that you're wanting to move into. See exactly what the crime looks like in those areas. Make sure you're comfortable with it. And then take it a step further. Look at the crime map for the area that you are currently living in, so you get a good perspective comparison on what that would probably look like. So that's usually the answer I give to the people that are concerned about crime here in the area. Do you guys have any thoughts, ideas you'd like to add to that?
I see what he's saying in the maps. So we get a lot of, like, I call it like almost like false numbers, because it's per capita a lot of times. So like in a city of a million people, you have one break-in. That shows a very small portion, but we have such small towns and small cities. So you get one break-in, one homicide, and it looks like we have huge numbers because of such a small population. That's where a city, you can have 10 of those and it still isn't not on the map.
Yeah, and it's not to downplay it, but it's just saying, well, from a statistical analysis perspective, it's kind of tough to do that proportion analysis anytime, you know, you're using a sample size as small as Alaska, because I think there's only 688,000 total people who live in the state. So it's, it doesn't take very much to throw everything off. Okay. So,
And in Homer, I purchased my house in May of 2021. And we didn't get a house key when we purchased our house. The owner had lived, they were the original owners of the house. They lost the house key, had never locked the house before. And we have never locked our house before. And I am born and raised in Homer, and it was the same way growing up. My parents never locked the doors to the house, which is so nice. I mean, you go to the grocery store. Today I had a showing on Pioneer Avenue, which is the main road in town. That's the busiest. And I just left my car unlocked with everything in it and went in and did the showing for an hour and didn't have to think twice about it. So, I mean, I think, and what I tell people is Homer virtually has no crime. If there are break-ins, which are so few, rarely happen, it's typically has to do the person that's breaking in knows the person that they're breaking into, and it's not random crime.
Yep. That's a really good point. All right. So Tall Stacker has been very patient here. So coming in from Tall Stacker, what part is best for semi-driving jobs? I don't know.
So I'm also a truck driver on the side. I did it for 10 years. I just quit trucking a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, to go become a real estate agent. I took up a side gig with actually training truck drivers how to do winch truck driving. Winch trucks, basically, we use them for moving drilling rigs, a lot of rig work. Truck driving's all over the state, from the Prudhoe Bay on the slope down to Homer, everywhere else except for, I guess 2 Kodiak, but on a barge, and then 2 Juneau on a barge, but all over the state. And you got a mix of anything from hauling fuel tankers to just grocery vans like you see across the states. And then, which my side of things is oil field work. We move drilling rigs all over the peninsula and all the way to the slope. And it's, I know the company that I help out is hurting for drivers. I think every company's hurting for drivers. Hit me up if you're looking for a job.
Yeah. What's the best way to get hired? Because I've seen a whole lot of these guys that are trying to come in from out of state, and a lot of the companies won't even look at them if they're coming in from out of state. So is there some extra step, some secret handshake that people need to know, or what's the best way for someone out of state to get a job as a truck driver?
I mean, familiarize yourself with winter driving. That's going to be part of it. I mean, we have lots of winter driving. Familiarize yourself with like tire chains, how that stuff works. And then basically, really, the company that I work with has been around for 56 years now, I think. It's the longest standing company in the Peninsula, or on the Kenai area at least, as far as truck drive. Actually, I think it's the longest running company in the Kenai area, period, even trucking or anybody. I mean, we look at driving experience, driving time. How many years do you have? If you have experience, we'll probably take you, really, at this point. People are getting pretty desperate for truck drivers. And, I mean, of course, you interview and you do a driving test with our company. And if you're not going to be a fit, if you don't have a good work attitude, and if you can't really drive smoothly, if you're a little erratic on the road, then we probably won't pick you up. But otherwise, if you can drive and you can drive smooth and you got a good attitude, that's pretty much all you need. And if you're willing to learn other new stuff with the specialized equipment we use.
And if your road trip Pandora playlist is on point, I'm sure.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
That's the way to go. All right. Well, I'm not sure I can really add anything to that. Valerie, Katrina, is there anything you guys would add to that?
Nope, I'm at a loss. Sorry.
Okay.
We have tugboat drivers that live in Kodiak and longshoremen, but we don't really have. I mean, well, I guess there's somebody has to drive those, but it's not a big thing in Kodiak. It's not a big job opportunity.
It's like, is it like 40 miles worth of road from one side to the other that's drivable?
Yeah, and I live most of my life within a 2-mile bubble, so.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll tall stacker. Let's go ahead and do this. If you want to go ahead and get in contact about that, we've got the little link down in the description section, just saying contact. So go ahead and click on that, and we'll get you connected with the right people.